What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Carpool Gaming for this special edition of the PlayStation Drive celebrating the launch of Final Fantasy XVI. My name is Matt, and I'll be your driver for this adventure's events. You know, for this episode, I had to bring up the Final Fantasy Dawn. If you talk all things Final Fantasy, you have to go to this man first. Everybody knows that. He's got the best eyebrows in the biz. We got Mr. Midas here hanging out. What's good, my dude?
Man brought in the eyebrows, you know. He brought it in. I see what you're doing right there. All right. This is the PlayStation Drive. You know me. I'm a big PlayStation Donny. But right now, it's baking in the UK. So I've got my PlayStation hoodie. Sorry, I had to take it off, man. I know I'm off brand, but we are all good because it is Final Fantasy 16 launch day. Matt, I started my adventure with Final Fantasy 7. You see my Buster Sword in the back. That game changed gaming for me. I went from someone who liked video games, a kid who liked video games, to a hardcore gamer. And all of these years later, Final Fantasy has come out and shocked me. And I didn't think that was possible.
Dude, it's wild to see in a series that's been going on for this long. I mean, you know, started in the 80s, way back in the day. We're now hitting the 16th numbered entry. Obviously, there's been a ton more of Final Fantasy outside of your mainline games, but like, you know, we had what 15 in 2015, was it? Around there. So it's been a minute since we've gotten it. And what we got here is almost a reinvention of the entire franchise as we know it. You know, obviously we got things like action combat that's much more Devil May Cry than it is traditional turn-based Final Fantasy. We have a dark story. We have, you know, Creative Business Unit 3 brought in, who were the geniuses that turned Final Fantasy 14 around. We have a massive pedigree here and a massive game. And it's out today. We're going to be talking about it because I can't wait. I'm literally like refreshing my email constantly being like, yo, Best Buy, where's this game at? It's out for delivery. Because I had to get that Steelbook. So I'm just like, come on, dude, where is it? I just want to get my hands on it. And I know you've been playing it for a sec. So tell me, Midas, how far are you in so far?
So I'm about 20 hours into Final Fantasy 16. And Matt, like, what a journey, what an experience. Like I said, big Final Fantasy guy. 7's my favorite. When they announce remake, blew my mind. Right now, I've been so excited for Rebirth, like super excited for Rebirth. And I've been excited about Final Fantasy 16 because it's a Final Fantasy game more than anything that I've seen. Like I'm not super into the whole medieval thing. Like that's not really my bag. The only game that's really drew me in like that was The Witcher. So I was just excited as a fan of the series to be able to play a new entry of the series. Matt, when I played that demo, I put down my DualSense controller. And I just couldn't fathom what I played. And I just went to Twitter and I just said, I think that's the best demo I've ever played in my life. I couldn't even go straight to bed. I just sat there, like, it affected me. Do you know how it affected me? And I know obviously this is a reference that's going to be used all of the time. But it affected me the same way when I watched the first series of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Like, what did I just watch? Like, to almost uncomfortable nature. So yeah, I'm like 20 hours in. I've seen quite a lot of the story. I'm not going to spoil any of that.
Nope.
Like I hate spoilers. So don't worry. I'm not going to spoil any kind of story stuff that I've experienced. But Matt, what a game.
Dude, and that's what I have to say, because like we'll get into your thoughts and feelings as a whole in a sec, but like that demo, what a stroke of genius, dude, for Square to put it out to give you what is the first 2 hours of the game out of a massive like 40-hour experience, to let you hop in, to get a taste of the combat, to see what the world is like, to let you that the way that the demo ends, those story hooks that it puts into you. What a stroke of brilliance. Because, you know, we get demos here and there, But for a mainline Final Fantasy to come out and be like, here's a demo for what we know, it's confidence. And that's what I think I felt throughout my time with the demo, because I was sitting there being like, I'm waiting. I'm not going to play the demo. I can't, like, if I play this too early, the wait for the game is going to be brutal. And then you message me being like, dude, what are you waiting for? You got to be playing this now. So what did I do? Literally right after I got your message, went and played the demo. And like, I'm in, dude, for something that is so different from what we know from traditional Final Fantasy. This also does feel like Final Fantasy in every stretch of the imagination through its first opening hours. Like, this feels like Final Fantasy in the year 2023. This is where we're at. And how many people have now bought into the game because of the demo? Like, what a genius call to put that out and to give you, here's the first 2 hours of the game, dude. Go play.
Like, yeah, I think Square are quite good at that, and they've done it for a while in many games, but I don't think it's had the positive effect like this has. Like, we previously spoken about it, like for Spoken, it had the complete opposite effects.
Yeah.
Lots of people started Octopath Traveler. Yeah, they started that on the demo and really loved that. And it's a really smart move. But the reason why it's so genius is, and I don't know why, but Final Fantasy for some reason has a weird stigma. Like, if you talk about The Witcher, people see it as a cool thing, and God of War is seen as a cool thing. Even Devil May Cry to a certain scene is a cool thing. But then when you talk about Final Fantasy, it's not really seen as a cool thing outside.
It's like a nerd game. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like, go play it, you weeaboos. Like, that's the kind of vibe for it.
Yeah. And I think obviously this game plays nothing like that. And I think it was a place for Square to let people see, like, oh, you think these trailers are just us joking? No, you play this and see. And yeah, they really, really showed. I'll say one thing though, that I'll probably disagree with you a little bit on. When I played the demo, it didn't feel Final Fantasy to me personally. Okay. I felt like Final Fantasy is all about being bombastic, being big, over the top. And I feel like one of the things they do that with is their music, like their signature music.
Yes, dude.
And I remember when I first heard the and it was proper, like, lowered, and it was more orchestra. Like, it was almost like, no, this isn't a joke. Like, that's in the background. The music's just going to help it along, but we're not using the music to sell it as, oh, that's that Final Fantasy reference. And it's not until I actually started the proper game, and then I was like, all right, yeah, this is very Final Fantasy. But the demo for me feels a lot more, this is just hardcore action. And then when it starts opening up more, I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, I see all of the Final Fantasy-esques in the game.
Okay, man, then let's dig into it, because I have to know. And I'm just going to start with the massive question. And again, we're not going to be spoiling anything for anybody here today. Our goal is just to have a conversation about, the game so far. Is this the best Final Fantasy yet? And I'm not talking favorites, because I know favorites is a different game. But is this the best one so far?
So I'm 20 hours in, so I can't give a different answer of that. But from what I'm playing, I think this is the best Final Fantasy. If it continues where I'm at, it's the best Final Fantasy created. Because Final Fantasy 7, to me, is the best Final Fantasy ever. But Final Fantasy 7 has so much bumps and weaves. Like, there's part where the cutscenes look they look like proper rendered cutscenes, and you got cutscenes where they look like chibis. Like, there's a bit of a disconnect there. Final Fantasy X for me is incredible. First time they brought voice acting, but there's like some proper disconnect with obviously that whole meme with Tidus doing the laugh, and that's just been memeing and stuff like that. Yeah, where this isn't doing none of that. So I think if it continues on the path, it's probably the best Final Fantasy game. It's not my favorite because Clive is sick. The character Joshua is sick. The characters are sick, but they don't connect to me the way Cloud does and Tifa does. And like, I think Clive's probably one of the best protagonists I've played in a game this whole year. But I don't know if I'm going to put his poster on my wall.
Fair. And I get that. And so let's start with that then, because how is the story so far? We're not getting into spoilers or whatever, but obviously this is quite a departure from 15's, fanboy road trip, from 14's online massive world. It's very different from what we've seen in quite some time. Final Fantasy hasn't really been medieval since its early entries. So coming into a story now, which, like we've mentioned, has a bunch of swearing, has more intimate stuff than I think we've ever seen from a Final Fantasy, and for it to have a lot of blood, a lot of gore, how is all that connecting? Are you finding that is enhancing the story? Are you enjoying the story so far, or do you think it's shock value? Like, where are you landing on the story so far?
So in my I did like a short form preview, and basically I said long gone are the perfectly hairsprayed characters and belts upon belts. That's exact, like that has been put away. And the reason why people are talking so incredibly about Final Fantasy 16, Matt, is because the story is really, really good. It isn't F bombs for F bombs. Like when you hear the first time you hear swearing, it's like, wow, there's a swear word, but it's not like just swearing for the sake of it. It makes sense. The characters make sense. Clive's journey makes sense. His pain makes sense. The way he vocals it, like it just makes sense. And the story is really, really good. Final Fantasy doesn't having a broken protag who's in pain is nothing new. Tidus was upset, but Final Fantasy 8 is like some people's favorite Final Fantasy. And my annoyance with that is it's just whiny. Like Clive is not whiny. Like he has none of it. He is a grown character who's going through proper hardship, and they're not scared to show you that hardship, whether it be blood, whether it be gore. Like even the intimacy isn't like the intimacy in I feel like sex and intimacy in Game of Thrones is shock value,
Right.
where I don't feel like it's like that in this. I feel like it's the adults interacting the way adults interact, and they've done it so well, and I'm really, really impressed on what they're delivering. Forget it even being a Final Fantasy, just it being a narrative. Like me as a story gamer who loves story, this narrative that I'm going on, like I want to know what's happening next. Like the amount of times I've been up till 1 a.m. because I'm just like, what happens next? Like I'm tired. You get me?
Yeah.
I'm tired, but I'm like, what happens next? I really want to know. And I'm like, oh, do you know when you're playing something, you're like, oh, I bet it's that. Is it that?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's the reactions I'm having.
That's dope, dude. Like I'm so stoked to hear that. And I remember kind of some of the pre-launch lead up, the voice actor behind Clive, Ben Starr, I think it was when he was on Kind of Funny, was talking about how, very sadly he lost his father in the production of this game. So a lot of his voice work is him dealing with his own trauma and dealing with the things that he's been going through, and that comes out in his performance. So I'm so happy to hear that they, all of that comes through in such a profound way. And what I want to ask you next, dude, because I think, the setting and the gore and everything is obviously a big change for what we know from Final Fantasy, but the action combat so far is the biggest departure that we're getting from a mainline, because again, we've seen it action esque combat with Final Fantasy Remake. We saw it kind of again with Final Fantasy 15, but this is, more Devil May Cry, which is, they have the combat director from those games. This is much more action than it is RPG when it comes to the combat in the minute-to-minute play. How does it land, and how does it feel playing it?
All right, so quick shout out before I even answer that question. Ben is incredible, but my favorite character is Sid. Sid in this is, I literally think this is my favorite Sid.
No way.
Like, yeah, this is literally my favorite Sid. Dave, I didn't even know I could care about a Sid more than I would from Final Fantasy 7. This Sid is immaculate. Remember I said that, immaculate. The combat is so fun, and it's funny because I love Devil May Cry, because everyone's been saying Devil May Cry, Devil May Cry, Devil May Cry. I was expecting the combat to actually be different than it is, and for me, it feels more like a very, very refined FF10. So I mean
Okay.
15. FF15.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna be like,
Yeah,
wait,
not
what?
10. Yeah, lost. FF15. Sorry. Because FF15 was them really understanding how to do this kind of combat. It doesn't, and the reason why I say that, and people might disagree with me, but the reason why I say that is it doesn't feel hack and slashy. It feels very strategic, like you are proper thinking about what you're doing in, because you've got different icons, so you're swapping between the icons, you're swapping between normal melee and magic, and it's not just slash magic, it's making sure that these are done in time for different for different combos, and then throwing in toggle to bite someone. Like, it feels like if someone got that combat completely right. So it
Okay.
has the essence of Devil May Cry, but for me personally, it doesn't feel Devil May Cry, because the more and more you unlock, you're always interchanging. And yeah, man, it's so fun. That it is really, really fun.
Dude, the combat just felt so good, and I hopped into a bit of the iconic trials that come with the demo that gives you kind of a later game power set, and I can start to see it. I can start to see, okay, if I use this iconic ability, it'll transition well into this one. I have to hot swap between this, and this here. You can start to see how all of these connect in a way that's just, kind of breaking, you're working down the enemy's break meter. You finally get there. Okay, I have to make sure to use this one to maximize damage. So I can see how that's all starting to come together. So I'm stoked to hear that the full game doesn't feel too like, here's action, that strategy still lives in its DNA, because I think that's super important for something like Final Fantasy.
Yeah, like when you start playing this, you're like, bro, I'm OP. They give you these moves. You're like, no one can test me. And then you get to either a boss, or you get to these like you basically, they've got these selective enemies that you can go and hunt, and they're at different grades, and they will mop you up. If you think you can just go hack slash magic, you're dead. No, it's not happening. You really have to start getting into your strategic mindset. So like each type of icons move set gives you a different set of moves. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to explain how it works, because I think everyone should experience that for the first time on their own. But each one gives you a set of moves, and you literally have to think, all right, so I'm doing this next, and I'm moving that, and this next. And man, you know me.
I know
I'm a man. I can't parry for nothing. My parry game is trash. I haven't needed to use parry once. All I need to do is use dash, magic, and attack, and it just is perfect. And that also is super great for me, because with the whole Soulsborne games, everything's like, you need to parry, and there's a really cool parry in here, and if you can use it, it gives you such a dope bonus. But someone like me who struggles on that, it's like, okay, if you can't do that, it's fine. It gives you various ways to be able to play.
That's amazing, dude. Like, oh god, I can't wait to play this. Okay, so I think my kind of last major question, because we have a community question as well. Obviously, the big thing that we've seen in a lot of the marketing is the icons, right? These big, larger than life summons as we know them from before. And you actually get to play through a bunch of these icon battles. We get a taste of it in the demo, with Phoenix versus Ifrit. We start to see pieces of it starting to come together. How are these battles? Do they live up to the spectacle and hype that's been promised? Do they feel fun to play? How are the icon battles?
So the icon battles for me are two things. One is they are epic. Man, we've been playing Final Fantasy games for years. Instead of just calling up a summon, you're actually being able to be this icon and punch in the face of another icon and literally go crazy. And it's spectacular, and it's over the top, and it is Final Fantasy, and the visuals are amazing, and it's exciting as hell. The execution of it is okay. I'm not gonna act like the execution is as good as it is the combat in the normal game. This, you can tell they really worked in the combat in a normal game. The actual combat in the icon battles is fine. it's not thing, but I don't think do you know what it reminds me of?
Mhm.
You see when you play in Spider-Man,
Yeah.
and it's all about the PowerPoint buttons and stuff like that. It's more about the spectacle than, oh my gosh, that was the craziest thing that I've ever played.
Right.
So it's a huge spectacle, but don't go in thinking that you're gonna be an icon being Ryu in Street Fighter 6. It's not gonna be, you're not playing like you're playing Street Fighter 6, like a battle, blah, blah, blah. It's about, this is a spectacle and you're involved in that moment.
Yeah, dude. Well, I like, again, from what we've seen in the demo, like they look like massive, like beautiful battles. They're going like full anime in that respect, so I can't wait to hop in there. Midas, dude, I'm so unbelievably excited to hop into this, and I know a bunch of the community is as well. We got a question from Fulish Fuji, Fulia, who's in the chat right now. What's up, Fulia? And she asks, I played the Final Fantasy 16 demo, but on story focus mode, and was wowed by the story and the overall visuals of the game. Now, I've never played a Final Fantasy game in my life, so I'm going into this with no prior knowledge of past games. What I'd like to know this, after I play 16, which Final Fantasy game do you think I should check out next?
Oh, that's a really, really good question. Well, welcome to the Final Fantasy family. We are super happy to have you. I would literally say just go and play Final Fantasy VII Remake. I feel like Remake is probably the closest to what you're going to experience in this game. It's a lot more light-hearted. It's a lot more anime-esque. But for like, I would never recommend someone to jump on this and then play a 10 or OG 7 or 8, because the disconnect is completely away. But I would definitely say after this, go and play 7 Remake.
I'm totally with you. I think 7 Remake is a great jumping on point next, especially because you don't inherently have to know what happened with OG 7 to understand 7 Remake. Like, they're very much telling their own story within that space. And it also gives you more to look forward to, right? If you enjoyed 16 and you finish it, and then you go into 7 Remake and you finish that and you're like, wow, these are awesome. You have 7 Rebirth coming up. You're going to have what the eventual third part of that trilogy is going to be. Like, you have more to look forward to within that world. I would also tell you 15 would be a great place to go back to as well. Again, it won't be as action heavy as what you're getting with 16 or even with 7 Remake, but I really loved 15 for what it was, and I played it at launch. So I've heard that the game has gotten immensely better, that it is far in a much better place now than it was at launch. So I think if you go to 7 Remake and you're still hungry and you're waiting for more, Crisis Core is a good place to possibly go to as well, to give you a bit more of that 7 world. But 15 is also just a great place to hop in and check out. And I think it's on like a bunch of the services now, or at least it was.
Yeah, I think it's on Game Pass now.
Yeah, you can get it for like dirt cheap. So like, again, and that's just like a great road trip with 4 bros having a good time. And I really, really, really loved it for what it was. So I think either way, you can't go wrong. But welcome, Fulia. Welcome to the world of Final Fantasy. Once you're in, you're done, dude. You are in. But Midas, my dude, hit me with the closing thoughts. What are you thinking? How are you enjoying Final Fantasy 16 so far? And, just hit me with those thoughts. I need to hear them.
Do you know what? I'm going to start with the negatives, and then we'll go over to the positive, because we haven't spoke about any kind of negatives within it yet. And it isn't like it's a great game, but just like every game, it's not a perfect game. Mm-hmm. So I would say when it starts feeling very kind of traditional, what a Final Fantasy is when it comes to the side quests. I feel like the side quests are very weak in terms of mechanics, but can be really rewarding. Okay. So, like I said, I'm only like 20 hours in, but when I was watching the IGN review, and they were saying when it gets further on, they become more rewarding, and I'm starting to see them become more rewarding in terms of the story and what you get from the side quests. Okay. The side quests are very much, hi, I'm NPC, let's go here, then go there, then go there. It's very kind of fetch questy. Mm-hmm. And I feel like if they put a bit more effort and made it more kind of like The Witcher, and really worked on those side quests, I think they could have been something incredible. So you get the dope story moments out of them, but the actual what you're doing, everything I've done is very fetch quest, go here, go there, go here, go there. So I was kind of disappointed in how the side quests are. The second thing that's for me is a little lackluster, and I get why they've done it, but I completely get why they've done it, because it's all about storage and space. But one of the things that I find in Final Fantasy games, and it stands out so bad in Final Fantasy VII Remake, is you have these polished, incredible looking characters, and then you go into a mode where you're just running around and you're interacting with another characters, and the quality of the character art has dropped significantly. So like, just to save storage space, so they don't need to have HD quality models all of the time, which is going to make the game go from 100 gig to 5,000.
Yeah.
Like, but it's a bit of a disconnect. It's like, it looks super incredible, and then your character looks a bit off, and the NPCs look way off. Like, if you think of how the NPCs look in Horizon, like, I wish they looked like that in this. Like, when I speak to an NPC in Horizon, I feel like I'm speaking to a person, where in FF16, sometimes I look incredible and the person I'm talking to doesn't.
Okay.
So that's been a huge disconnect for me. But it's weird, because I don't get nothing from this game. This game isn't giving me any money. And the only thing I've got from this game is Square Enix has provided me with a code and nothing more. I'm so proud that Final Fantasy has been able to grow into something like this. Like, I'm proud that I've loved this franchise for all of my life as a gamer and within my career. And I'm so proud that Square has been able to take what I loved with these spiky hair guys and people go ha 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 ha, and actually make it into a mature and a dark and really take it to a whole new level. And I'm so excited for new people to get into this franchise and this be their starting point. So this game is incredible, and yeah, it has its little flaws, but what they've created right now is magic, and I just want to see where it goes.
I'm so stoked to hear that, dude. Yeah, like the amount of new folks, like we talked about Fulia. I mean, this is probably Court's first proper Final Fantasy game in the modern age. Like, he loves 7, but you know, 7 Remake didn't really vibe with him immensely, and he's in the chat talking about how much he is loving this game already. For the amount of new people, I feel like in this RPG space that you and I have loved for many years, we're starting to see it, you know, break out of the little confines that it's kind of lived in. We saw it with Tales of Arise being the best selling Tales game. We're seeing it with Final Fantasy. We're seeing it more and more. We saw it with Persona, right? We're seeing more and more of these properties that we have loved and cared about for so long hit the mainstream in a way that it's just like, finally, yes, now you all get it. It wasn't just us arguing about waifus and husbandos. There's quality here, my dude. So for Final Fantasy 16, I cannot wait to see how this game sells. I cannot wait to see, as people get their hands on it today, just to see the massive love that people are giving to this game and this franchise. And I can't wait to dive in myself. And obviously,
quickly, I have to ask you, what are you most excited about this game? Because you already played the demo. So what are you most excited about?
I want to see the story. I want to see the story so bad, because obviously with the end of the demo, I'm already my head's spinning. I'm like, this is probably this, and I think this is this, and this is probably what's going to happen. And I'm always the most excited when I'm proven wrong. So like, already by the end of the demo, I was like, well, that's not what I thought was going to happen. So for me to be able to hop in and see what this game is, what the story is actually going to be, where this game is going to take me, I can't wait. The combat, I know it's going to be slick. I know it's going to be fun. But for me, dude, and similarly to you, as a story-first gamer, I cannot wait to see where this adventure is going to take me over the course of the immeasurable hours that I'm going to be spending with this. I can't wait, dude. I'm so stoked. And obviously, we were also doing our Final Fantasy 16 giveaway. We announced the winner last night. I just want to, for folks who may have missed that, shout out to the Muffin Mon, Kevin, who won a copy of Final Fantasy 16. We hope you enjoy it, my dude. Everybody who entered, we appreciate you all very, very much. We have more planned in the way of giveaways and fun stuff for the rest of the year. So make sure you strap in and hang out. But Midas, my dude, thank you so much for coming on and talking Final Fantasy 16 with me. I could think of no one better to have a combo about this with. You are always my dude when it comes to RPGs, and just one of my best friends out here, man. I appreciate the crap out of you. Where can people find you on this worldwide and web of ours?
Thank you so much for having me. Come on, my G. I know me and you, we can talk RPGs all day long. And usually we're talking the wifey ones. So it's nice to talk a serious RPG. But yeah, you can find me. Check out. I've just done a preview for Final Fantasy 16 on TikTok. So you can follow me on TikTok at Mr. Midas Games. I'm always talking gaming on Twitter, Mr. Midas Games. I make some dope content on YouTube. We're working towards 5K right now. So really appreciate your support. Go and subscribe on that. That's Mr. Midas Games as well. And yeah, I'm just out here, man. I love talking games. So if you want to talk about any games, just hit us up. We got a Discord. We're literally just starting to build our community in Discord as well. That's Midas Games. But yeah, just find me on Twitter. Let's talk some video games. And thank you so much for having me, man. Shout out to the Carpool family. And I know I'm wearing a Mario top, but PlayStation Drive all day long.
And also, I have to, I have to shout out that, go check out Midas's Kind of Funny Games Daily episode with Jordan Medler over at VGC. They were on the spot on Kind of Funny, holding it down just a few weeks ago. So go check that out. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. We know you want to get back to the game, so go back to Final Fantasy 16. We'll have much more for you on the PlayStation Drive in the coming weeks. You can find me on Twitter at Matt_SilverSoul. We appreciate all of you so very much. Peace.